Today, in this lesson, we're going to learn how to compare adjectives and how to compare adverbs. In particular, we're going to learn how to form the comparative and how to form the superlative adjectives and adverbs. Okay, so let's assume you go into a restaurant and you look at the menu and you say, wow, the chicken looks nice. Okay, so the adjective in this sentence is nice. Since we're not comparing the chicken with anything else, we call this a positive form of the adjective. So this is the positive form of the adjective since you're not comparing it with anything else. So then you move on and look at the menu again and say, all right, the beef looks nicer. Nicer than the chicken. Okay. Here in this case, I'm comparing the beef with the chicken in terms of being nice. And I'm comparing two items. Item number one, this is the first item, and item number two, this is the second item. And I add an ER at the end of the adjective to show that I'm comparing two things. This type of form is called the comparative form of the adjective because we're comparing two items or two things. And then you move on and look at the menu again and say, I think the pizza looks the nicest. So in this case, I'm comparing the pizza alone with the rest of the food on the menu. And to do that, I need to use the superlative form of the adjective. And I do that by adding an st at the end to show that this is the nicest food on the menu. So if I'm comparing two things or two people or two ideas, then I'm using here the comparative form of the verb. I either add an ER or I add more. If I'm comparing more than two, then I use the superlative form of the adjective and I use st at the end of the adjective, or I use add most before the adjective. So if you look at these in the table, you have the adjective, that's the adverb, this is the comparative, this is the positive, the comparative, and this is the superlative. Okay, so and here we go. Now for the positive attributed adjective or adverb, I don't add anything. Let's say I use the word nice, and the adverb is nicely done, nicely, and add y for the adverb. For the comparative, I would add an er at the end. So since we have an e at the end, I only add the r, which is nicer. But the adverb, I always add more before the adverb, and I use it as more, nicely, as the comparative, and the superlative is nicest. Remember, superlative is more than 2, and the adjective is most, nicely. I'm adding the most before the adverb. However, when do we decide whether to add an er at the end, or whether to add more before the word? Whenever you have in irregular comparison, whenever you have a one-syllable word, then we always add er or est for the superlative. Er for the comparative, or est for the superlative, like the one we saw before, which is nice, nicer, or nicest. In the two-syllable word, most of them we add er or est, but some of them they would look weird if we add er and est, and therefore we add more before the word or most before the word. Example, the word easy is two syllables, E and Z. Okay, so the comparative is easier, and the superlative is easiest. However, we might have some words that, even though they are only two syllables, when you add er or est at the end, they look very weird. Example is fragrant. Fragrant is two syllables. The comparative is more fragrant, and the superlative is most fragrant. Now there are no basic rules when to use more or most or er or est in a two-syllable word. What you have to rely on here is your sound, the ear sound to the ear. And if you're not sure, you can always check any reference, which is in this case a dictionary. However, for the three-syllable words, the three-syllable words, they always take more, almost. Like the adverb easily, you have one syllable, Z, D, three syllables, therefore we have to use more easily or most easily. However, some of the adjectives that they are compared, what we call irregular comparison, like here in the positive you have bad or badly or ill. In the comparative, and here's in the superlative. So here's the table. The comparative of bad is not actually badder nor more badly, because it's a regular comparison. So bad is worse in the comparative and worst in the superlative. Same thing applies to the word good or well as the adverb. The comparative is better and the superlative is best. There's no such word as gooder nor goodest in English language. Similarly, you have the word little. The comparative is less when you compare two things, one less than the other. And when it's a superlative, we use the word least. And the last irregular comparison is many or much. The comparative is more and the superlative is most. So basically this is the comparison and comparative of the adjectives and adverbs. If you scroll up and just give you a quick view about what we discussed so far, in the comparison of adjectives and adverbs, we have two forms, and when we want to compare, you have the comparative and superlative. If there's no comparison, then this is called the positive form. And example here is that the chicken looks nice. This is positive form when there's no comparison. If we're comparing two things, two ideas or two people, then we use the er or more to show a comparative relationship between them. If you're comparing more than two, three and more, then use the superlative form with an st or most added to the adjective or adverb. And we said there are three types. You have the positive, no comparison, comparative for two, and for superlative we have 3 plus. In terms of regular comparison, the one syllable words, we add to them er for the comparative or est for the superlative. For the two syllable words, most of them we add er or est, and some of them we add more or most depending on how it sounds. For the three syllable words, we always add more or most. And for the regular comparison, you have the words bad, its comparative is worse and the superlative is worst. Good or well, its comparative is better and superlative is best. Little, its comparative is less and the superlative is least. And many and much, its comparative is more and its superlative is most.